الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، يقول الله عز وجل: كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله ولو آمن أهل الكتاب لكان خيرا لهم منهم المؤمنون وأكثرهم الفاسقون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in this verse, you are the best community singled out for people. You order what is right, forbid what is wrong, and believe in Allah. If the people of the book had also believed, it would have been better for them. For although some of them do believe, most of them are lawbreakers. And in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us something very clear and categorical. And that is the status and position of Ummah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And He Azza wa Jal, He says that we have this status and we have this position for three major reasons. And He calls us a community, an ummah. He says that you command the good, you forbid the evil, and you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that the fadila and the virtue and the honor and the sharaf is because of these three things. That we are not an ummah that is silent. We are not an ummah that is passive. We are not an ummah that allows the world to pass us by. We are actively involved in our homes, we are actively involved in our communities, and we are actively involved in society. Because that is part of commanding the good and forbidding the evil. And sometimes we overstep, and sometimes we'll tell someone to cut their hair. Sometimes we'll tell someone to change the way that they dress. Sometimes we'll tell someone that they prayed wrongly. And we do overstep. But why do we overstep? Is because we think that we're commanding the good. But if this trait was taken away, then we would just cause fasad and fitna in the land. And walillahi alhamd, I will say this, that even with these slight oversteps and missteps, these past few weeks, with all of the atrocities, with all of the hardship, with all of the loss of life, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on our brothers and sisters in Gaza, and may He Azza wa Jal stop the killing. It has shown me one thing, that even with the fear of being labeled terrorists, even with the fear of being attacked, even with the fear of losing our jobs, even with the fear of being boycotted, the Muslims still were not silent. Because we saw injustice and we refused to stay silent about that injustice. And this is an honor for the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That when we see evil, we try to stop it. And when we see good, we try to encourage it. And that really is something that is powerful. And it is moving, and it's deep. So to what extent are we doing it, and what is my involvement? How am I commanding the good, and how am I forbidding the evil? Because I can say with confidence, walillahi alhamd, all of us believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of us believe in the finality of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So where are we falling short in commanding the good and forbidding the evil? One thing that we recognize is sometimes we overstep. And sometimes we say things maybe it is not our place to say. And what does that require? It requires education. It requires learning a little bit about our religion. It requires more awareness on my part and understanding that sometimes there's a difference of opinion and I need to recognize that, so I shouldn't try to enforce it. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, you forbid the evil. And if there's a difference of opinion, automatically the label of evil is removed. Because it's not possible that there would be a difference of opinion in evil things. The difference of opinion is only in those things that are good. So how do we implement and how do we do that? We learn. And walillahi alhamd, there are institutes, there are masajid, there are learning centers, there are schools, online classes, online universities, online seminaries for us to learn more about our religion. And if I don't want to take the formal route, I have something that's even easier. I can go to hijrah.org and I can make an appointment with the Imam and I can say, hey Imam, what is the ruling on this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us and facilitated this religion so much for us, walillahi alhamd. He's made so many paths of ease. All we have to do is utilize them. And that is part of commanding the good and forbidding the evil. But even when we do that, sometimes we lose hope. Sometimes we get upset. Sometimes we feel all of this good that I'm doing and all of these efforts that I'm making, they're going to waste. And I feel this sometimes. Last week, our brother Saif and some brothers from VCMO, which is the Virginia Council for Muslim Organizations, they had invited me and they said, hey, listen, let's go to the House of Representatives and let's speak to a couple of the representatives. Let's go speak to Bayer, let's go speak to Wexton, who are our local reps. And let's go encourage them to push for a ceasefire in Gaza. And in my heart, I was thinking, what a waste of time. Why are these people going to sit down and why are they going to listen to me? We make up a small portion of the population. There's no reason for them to even entertain me. And when we went, there was 3 of us. There was me, there was Ali from McLean Islamic Center, and there was Shahid. And there's 3 of us sitting there with the representative. And he was very clear. I don't see that a ceasefire can happen. I don't think it's reasonable. And we presented our case. And how, no, this is something that we're demanding, and there has to be humanitarian, like for humanitarian reasons. Like this needs to stop. Carpet bombing doesn't help. Same thing in the Wexton's office when we went in. And I walked away. I said, Hasbi Allah. Allah is enough for me. I don't see anything changing. Then a few days ago, Saif gave me another call. And VCMO organized a meeting with senators. So we went to go see Tim Kaine. We went to go see the other representative. And we sat down on the table. And for 1 hour, they sat and they listened. And the comments that the brothers and sisters are making, they were not politically correct. They were actually being very aggressive, they were being very harsh, and they were being very critical. And someone said to me, well, what's the point? I said, well, it was surprising to me. Why would the 2 senators come in person? They could have sent someone else. And why even give us time? But they sat there for an hour, and they listened to 12 people yell at them. And I wondered, in my heart, again, and they started the conversation. This is how they started the conversation, saying that we cannot support a ceasefire. This is how the conversation started. And I don't know how many of us follow the news, but just yesterday and this morning, those same senators we actually sat down with, and those same representatives we sat down with, they said that we want to support a ceasefire. From Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I never thought that these methods actually worked. I really did. I said, I felt like I was wasting my time. I felt like sitting with these people, they already have an agenda. They already have their mindset to the point where they're even telling me what they want to do. And within a few days, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the one that turns the hearts. And what is the dua that we make in sajda? Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik. He said, "Oh Allah, you are the one that turns the hearts. So turn my heart and make it firm in your religion." And is it possible that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turned their hearts? Absolutely. I truly believe that. And the point of me sharing this story is never underestimate what we can do. Never underestimate our efforts. Because even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He talks about efforts, how does He describe them? He says that your efforts, sa'yukum mashkura. He says that it is your efforts that are thanked. He doesn't say the results. And like I said, we don't know the results. We don't know what's going to happen. But what effort did I make? And the second reason I share this story is that why do we think that those representatives and those senators gave us time? Why did they do that? We don't have big lobbies like some of the other organizations do. We don't have a lot of funding that are going to these individuals. So why did they give us time? Because the Muslims in this area, they actually have the highest turnout of all other ethnicities and minority groups when it comes to voting. So yeah, we don't donate to their campaigns. We don't really have many lobbies. I don't even know if we have a PAC that goes and speaks to them. But we do vote. And I know that there are some brothers and sisters who don't feel like that vote has an effect. And I'm just here to tell you, it is because of the efforts that the community has made that I was even able to sit down and they had to listen to what we had to say. And is it because of what Sister Allison or Brother Rizwan or some of the other brothers that were there, Brother Rafi, is it because of them that they changed their mind? I don't know. I know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the one that guides who He wills. But could that have been a means? I truly believe that. I believe that it could have been a means. And those means are made possible when we create those pathways. So I'm up here and I want to thank the community for creating that pathway. It is because the community is participating. It is because the community is voting that these people feel like they need to listen to us. So I truly do want to be thankful because our Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that the one that does not thank the people is not thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I do not want to be heedless. I do not want to be from those people who is thankless. So I truly am standing here today and I just want to extend to everyone, Jazakumullah khair. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wa salam ala Sayyid al-Anbiya wa Mursaleen, Nabiyana Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een, amma ba'd. Yaqul Allah Azza wa Jal, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, kunu qawwamina lillahi shuhada'a bil-qist, wa la tajrimannakum shananu qawmin ala alla ta'dilu, i'dilu, huwa aqrabu lit-taqwa, wattaqullah, inna Allaha khabirum bima ta'malun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in this verse, you who believe, be steadfast to your devotions and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and bear witness impartially. Do not let hatred of others lead you away from justice, but adhere to justice, for that is closer to taqwa. Have taqwa. Be mindful of Allah. Allah is well aware of all that you do. And what's amazing in this verse is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us and commanding us, He said, it doesn't matter what you're feeling. And some of us might feel hatred. Some of us might feel angry. Some of us might feel frustrated. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, those feelings, and they have their place, it does not allow me and it does not allow you to judge and to deal with others and look at situations based on how I am feeling. Yes, Allah has given me pain and anger and happiness and sadness. He's given us all of these feelings. Why? because there are gauges on how to interact with one another. But the moment I act on those feelings, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala call that? He says that these are the people who يَتَّبِعُونَ شَهْوَاتِ, that they just follow their emotions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says we are just. He Azza wa Jal says that we are upright. He Azza wa Jal, He calls us witnesses, meaning that we take in the world around us, we record it, we process it, and we act accordingly. So we have that opportunity to act accordingly. And from those opportunities, like I had mentioned in the first khutbah, is the choice to vote. And I want to share another story. I had a brother come up to me one day, and he said to me, Akhi, he said, I know you have this online bulletin board where you're posting all of these ads. Can you tell the brothers and sisters who are asking for rent to lower the rent? I said, Akhi, did you vote? He's like, what does that have to do with it? I said, why do you think they're raising their rent? They're just mean people? You think these people, you think landlords, they just sit there and they're like, how can I take advantage of others? I said, most landlords, they set their rent based on their property taxes. Because they want to rent out their basements or they want to rent out spaces so that that money can pay for their property tax and they don't have to worry about it. Who raises property taxes? Supervisors. And who votes for the supervisors? Everyone here. When was the last time we had a conversation with our supervisor? This year, walillah alhamd, we finally have a parents' committee for children at FCPS, at Al-Hijrah. And for those of you that are interested, please talk to Akhuna Fahad if you'd like to join. But why did this happen? Because of all of the LGBT lessons that were being taught in the school, and parents were frustrated, rightly so. And guess who decides what is taught and how it's taught? The school board. How many of us have spoken to the school board? And guess who's going to be up for vote this November 7th? The supervisors and the school board. So if we want lower property taxes so that rent can be more affordable, because someone might be like, well, I don't own a property, I'm just renting. Okay, do you want your landlord to keep his rent low? Here's your opportunity. Are you upset with what's being taught in the school and how it's being taught? Well, here's your opportunity. The thing I fear for myself is that I stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and He says to me, you had an opportunity to speak. You had an opportunity to send an email. You had an opportunity to make a phone call. Why didn't you do that? And I want to be able to stand in front of my Lord, Azza wa Jal, and I want to tell Him, Ya Rabb, I did. It wasn't a lot. And for some of us, it might just be one meeting that changes what is happening to our brothers and sisters overseas. And if that singular meeting can do that, what can multiple meetings do in our locality? This is a community that built masajid, not masjid, masajid. This is a community that built schools, not a school. This is a community, from it was found funeral services, not a service. This is what we're capable of doing. And if we can work in these spaces, we can work in most spaces, and we can work in them successfully. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help and aid our brothers and sisters in Gaza. I ask Him Azza wa Jal to protect them all. I ask Him Azza wa Jal to have mercy on our brothers and sisters in Gaza that have passed. I ask Him Azza wa Jal to have mercy on all of our brothers and sisters that have passed away. Ameen. I ask Him Azza wa Jal to help those who are in any type of financial difficulty or hardship out of that hardship. I ask Him Azza wa Jal to give shifa, to give healing to all of those who are ill. And I ask Him Azza wa Jal to help those who are in debt out of their debt. And I ask Him Azza wa Jal to gather us in His paradise like He has gathered us here today. وأقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين من كل ذنب وخطيئة إنه هو الغفور الرحيم وأقيم الصلاة.